Matt Brown, Mike Somich, Derek Stevens, and Jeff Benson in here. And we just went over the most popular picks over in the millions. If you're just joining us, it was Niners, Bengals, Ravens, Bucks, and Colts over there. But we know you want to come. You came here to see how many people are left, what is an entry worth, and what is the most popular pick in the Circa Survivor, the biggest Survivor contest in the world. I don't know if it is, but I'm going to say it is. I'm saying it's the biggest Survivor contest in the world.
Biggest legal Survivor contest
in the world. Derek, what are we looking at this week?
Yeah, we had a week we were going in with 1,836 eligible Circa Survivors going into week 6, and in order, the top selection, the Los Angeles Rams with 783 selections. That's 42% of the remaining pool. Choice 2, Miami Dolphins with 440 selections, so 24% of the pool. Buffalo Bills are third with 382 selections. Fourth, and in the house were the Kansas City Chiefs from Thursday night with 84 selections. Baltimore Ravens fill out the top 5 with 34 selections in the game we talked about in London tomorrow. This week there was a total of 17 teams selected. So as weeks go on, we're not going to be seeing this 23, 24 teams selected. So 17 teams overall selected. The implied value is now over $5,000 at $5,050 for every remaining Circa Survivor contestant. I know it's topical, but we're going to continue our streak. There's unfortunately a single no pick going into week 6. So we were at 1836 to start the week, and we're at 1835 here on Saturday night in downtown Las Vegas.
They must have achieved their goal to get to week 6. No interest in continuing it any further.
I just can't imagine the anxiety or the.
I really think that some people don't even realize there's a deadline, and they just have happenstancely gotten in their pick before 4 o'clock in the subsequent weeks, and then they just it's one of those things that's mind-blowing. So for those who are listening, go to the circasports.com website, read the rules that I've worked so hard to write, and make sure you prepare for the holiday weeks, both Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
You're not cutting anybody any slack, all right? Like it's not happening.
And Christmas. This is not an 18-week Survivor contest. This is a 20-week Survivor contest.
I don't want to be too early on this, but at some point I'm going to start saying, if you don't have a proxy, proxies are still taking new clients. At some point, I recommend you do that. We all buy insurance for our house. Well, there's a reason why. Well, this is kind of like buying insurance here. Proxies will take a little more business. If you don't want to spend whatever they're charging, a couple $100 or something, make sure you have a buddy that lives out here. You got to have a backup plan. What if your phone goes dead? What happens if there's a cell tower that goes off where you're at? It's starting to become some real implied value here.
One of the nice parts about the proxy, they'll text you if it's getting close to the deadline. Say, hey, you're going to put this in here? What's going on? Interesting results that came out this week. The Rams, the top pick team here, 42%. I would have been very surprised by that preseason, but what we've seen from the Rams, what we saw from Arizona without Connor this week, I think I'm not as surprised. We talked about the Dolphins being one of the heavily used teams. They're sitting here in second. Were you guys surprised that was first and second, or were you expecting it to be flipped?
I thought everyone with the Dolphins was going to use them today. So I thought the Dolphins number at 440, I thought that would have been higher. Now, on the availability, remember, there's a limited amount of availability. The Miami Dolphins only had 810 Circa Survivors had the Dolphins available. I thought we were going to get closer to 600-700 Dolphins because I don't know when else you could use it. Maybe next week. Maybe that's what you're saving it for against the Steelers. But that's about it. Or against, wait a second, Steelers.
They've got Las Vegas week 11. The Rams have the Steelers next weekend.
Yeah, the Rams have the Steelers next week. So on the Rams almost, the availability was almost wide open with the Rams. I thought the Rams are going to be used this week here or next week because I can't see when you're going to use them later in the year. So not surprised that the Rams were up there. I'm surprised the Dolphins weren't selected a little bit higher. Obviously, the Bills are a play strictly because of the point spread and how horrible the New York Giants are.
Yeah, Rams didn't surprise me, I don't think at all, because Jeff, when we came into the season, I have an alt. You're very book out here. I have an alt under on the Cardinals, and then of course you see them kind of start to play a little plucky to begin the season. You're thinking, I'm like, all right, well, this ticket's dead. But I think they've kind of rounded into what we thought they were going to be. They're fine, and it was a fun little story about them kind of fighting. But then you look, and it's like, they lose to the Giants, and we see what the Giants are. They lose to the Commanders. We see what the Commanders are. They get housed by the 49ers and the Bengals. So the Cardinals I think are kind of rounding into what we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were competitive, under Gannon to start the season. I think maybe a lot of people thought they were going to be the worst team in football. Maybe that's not the case now from a point spread perspective or a power rating perspective. I think when you look at the Rams, obviously they get to go home. They get Cooper Kupp back. He's sort of rounding into form when you look at his prop market in terms of where he's at. Obviously, you got two other good receivers in Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. And the Rams look relatively good. They were a team that had, a lot of question marks coming into the season. I think if you're a Rams backer in Circa Survivor, you probably hope Sean McVay's girlfriend or wife doesn't have her baby so that he doesn't coach on Sunday. But I mean, I'm not surprised obviously to see the Rams up there. This number went. The Rams have taken some money in the market, so certainly not surprising to see them be a popular pick here in Circa Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing with the Cardinals, I mean, the whole James Conner element as that played out through the week. I think we saw that. That's when we moved the number from basically a 6 to a 7 on the Conner news.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect time to use the Rams here. You have a Cooper Kupp that's been integrated back into the offense. You have a weak team that you're facing. James Conner going to be out. All sets up well for a Rams use here, especially since there aren't a ton of great spots to use them down the line. Now, one thing we talk about each week is the team of death, right? We've got 8 teams that have 1% or more of the pool. One of them already through here, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've already got right around 5% of the pool through. Of those teams with 1%, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Ravens, the Jags, the Eagles, and the Raiders, who is the most...
I'm going to jump in first on this one. Because I'm a believer. You don't have to have a team of death every week.
Oh,
but I am also glad you said at the threshold of 1%.
Well, it's
so you leaves the door open. If I had to pick one at 1%, I'm not really a big fan of the Raiders this weekend. So that's the 18 selections. But I think this is a week where we're going to have we're going to have almost everybody get through. I don't think we're going to see a lot of wipeouts. That's my thought. On this particular weekend, if I had to pick somebody, I would be a little leery on the Raiders right now.
We had to go pretty deep for the 1% because I agree with you. I don't think you're going to have any of the big numbers drop out. I think that the Jaguars are a little bit in danger there too. I think the Colts could play the upset, especially as how well they played them week 1.
Yeah, divisional game coming back from London, as we talked about earlier. I think the Jaguars and the Raiders, as you guys talked about, those would be the 2 teams that I would look at as being on upset alert.
If you look at some of these other teams that are getting selected, and we understand there's game theory involved in everything, but you see like the Bears and you see the Vikings and you see like what's
I wonder if the person who took the Bears also took the Vikings and this was a way for them to advance and blow a team they would never use again. I don't know that without digging a little bit more, but just thinking about it for 5 seconds, that would be my thought.
Yeah, when I saw that, I thought, okay, this goes back. Somebody's running an option where they've got 2 or more entries, and they're basically sacrificing a pick to then ensure moving on, and then they will have selected a team that you can arguably say you're never going to select. So that was my thought as well.
I probably want 6 entries to do that. It would not be 2. Let's just put it that way.
Especially this early in the season.
Yeah, Jeff, this is probably unfair to ask off the top of your head, but is there a week that you remember what was like the least amount of eliminations with this many left? Do you remember? Do you remember there only being like a handful of eliminations in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at last year, we started off so hockey stick curve in terms of, having 95% plus of the pool gone through, say 4 or 5 weeks. And then we had a 3 or 4 week stretch where nobody got eliminated before things really ramped up for another 3 or 4 week stretch where we just chopped a lot of numbers. So it goes in waves and it comes in ebbs and flows. But obviously, when you have 17 teams selected, you can certainly lose a number of different people.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.